Very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashik Sani Veerasinghal. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Only 35 out of 41 individuals line up for the presidential race, the Elections Commission announced. The election will positively affect the fourth quarter of 2019, says First Capital Holdings. We will now begin from the latest updates in political arena. The chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, announced that all 35 nominations submitted to the Elections Commission were accepted and the presidential polls will be held on the 16th of November as it was planned. Over 40 individuals have made their deposits at the Election Commission to contest for the presidential election. And however, only 35 candidates arrived at the Commission of Elections at Rajagiriya in Colombo to hand over their nomination papers. The accepting of nominations for the upcoming presidential election commenced at 9 a.m. this morning and concluded at 11 a.m. at the Elections Commission. United National Party's Deputy Leader and Housing, Construct and Cultural Affairs Minister Sajith Premadasa handed over nominations representing the New Democratic Front. Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa handed over the nominations for the elections representing the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Meanwhile, JVP leader Anurukumara Dissanayaka handed over the nominations representing the organisation National People's Power. Duminda Nagamo also handed over the nominations to contest for the elections under the Frontline Socialist Party. Accepting nominations for the upcoming presidential poll commenced around 9 a.m. this morning at the office of the National Elections Commission at Rajagiriya. 6 candidates who made their deposits did not hand over their nominations. Former Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa, who made the cash deposits under Sri Lanka Nidahas Podujana Sandhanaya, arrived at the commission premises but did not hand over the nominations. Among the 35 candidates who handed over the nominations for the upcoming presidential elections, former Army Commander General Mahesh Senanayake from the National People's Party was a notable figure among the team. Former Eastern Province Governor MLAM Hisbullah also handed over the nominations as an independent candidate, while former Parliamentarian and Provincial Minister MKM Sivajalingam also handed over the nominations to contest for the presidential election 2019. Customary presidential candidate ASP Liyanage also handed over the nominations from Sri Lanka Labour Party to contest for the elections, and Venerable Battaramulle Selarathanathera of Janaseta Peramuna also handed over the nominations. Meanwhile, Professor Ajantha Vijayasinghe Pereira also handed over the nominations this morning at the Commission of Elections representing the Socialist Party of Sri Lanka as the only female candidate in the election fray. Known entrepreneur Rohan Pallewatta also arrived at the Commission of Elections this morning and handed over his nomination papers from the National Development Front. Commission Chairman Mahinda Deshapriya also said that 2 objections submitted regarding the nominations were rejected by the Commission. He also made a fervent appeal to all political parties to strictly adhere to the election laws and not to display posters, cutouts, banners, floats or any other propaganda material to promote the candidacy of any candidate other than at a ground where an election meeting is held. However, he added that decorations are allowed at the ground where the president addresses a propaganda rally. The processions of political parties and vehicles have also been forbidden other than at a ground where a legally permitted rally is being held. Presidential candidate of United National Front and Minister of Housing and Construction and Cultural Affairs Sajith Premadasa says that national security should not be boiled down to military security only, whereas it actually refers to many other pivotal aspects of security. Minister Premadasa shared his policy recommendations speaking at a youth dialogue in Colombo recently, organized by United National Party Youth Movement, titled Transforming Youth, Empowering the Future.
I would look at national security from a very broad perspective. If you look at the various interpretations and connotations that are given today by a lot of people in the political arena, they try to restrict national security into a singular area, military security interest. I honestly believe military security interest is one of the main priorities. But surely there are other aspects. you have to look at and focus on economic security, political security, social security. So there are several aspects and perspectives that one has to look at. As far as national security is concerned, and more particularly military security, I think we have to focus on a speedy modernization process for our armed forces, provide them with the most appropriate training in order to face up to the challenge of modern-day terrorism.
Subsequently, UNF presidential candidate Minister Premadasa also stressed that Sri Lanka's exports should be diversified in order to evade vulnerabilities.
Now, in addition to the military security aspect, I think we have to look at economic security. When, for example, our export destinations are confined to 2 or 3 countries, I'm talking about the vast majority of exports, and if they are confined to 2 or 3 countries, there I see deep national security threat. We see economic vulnerabilities creeping in to our country. If we are unable to diversify our export destinations, 2 or 3 countries or groups of countries, they may be able to dictate our political agenda. It might enable them greater room to maneuver, to decide on the specifics of our national priorities.
Addressing a recent media briefing organized by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Anura Priyadarshana backs the idea of not changing the SLPP's party symbol of flower bud in the forthcoming presidential election.
Actually, now, in this presidential election, to give nomination, you have to have a party symbol. But in the ballot paper, you have your name being printed there. And also party symbol is also there. My thinking is that party symbol is a minor issue, not a major issue. Party symbol will be a major issue when you stand for general election. If you have a coalition, many parties come together and work for the general election, party symbol is an issue. We are a new political party. Our symbol is quite known to people. So most of the members believe that if we change it now, there will be an issue for our party. That is the only problem we have. We have no other issue. So that's why we chose that party. But in the general election, yes, we can think about it.
Former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral says that the depreciation of Sri Lankan rupee against the US dollar should be controlled and it should be maintained around 150 rupees per dollar. The former Central Bank Governor made these remarks addressing a Viyatmaga seminar held in Mathura last Sunday.
I will be briefing you a 12-fold economic growth policy today. The first one is we will reduce all the taxes by 20%. General public can't manage without having such a concession. We know it has a risk, but we know how to manage it. We will also reduce the present interest rates drastically. It will be done following the basics of the macroeconomic policies. The rupee was valued at 131 rupees against the dollar in 2014. When we managed it in the same amount for several years, we were criticized. They said artificial control is wrong and it should be allowed to float. They came and allowed the rupee to float. The result is today we need to pay 184 rupees per dollar.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Releasing its mid-year economic outlook report, First Capital Holdings states forthcoming presidential election during fourth quarter of 2019 is likely to boost the economy amidst island-wide election campaigning. The launch of the Outlook report was also followed by a panel discussion including First Capital Holdings Director and CEO Dilshan Veerasekara, Director and Verite Research Head Dr. Nishan Dimel and First Capital Holdings Research Head Dimantha Matthew.
The market has actually picked up from mid this year, from May. However, the significant thing to realize is the July 1st bank maximum FD rates came down to 9.83%. That's where the real spike has happened, a re-rating of the market with that. So with the improvement on the political side, and also with that we feel that there could be a spike in economic activity, bringing in more consumer demand into the picture. Also there will be a bit of fiscal expansion that's happening, also supporting consumer demand. So two factors to consider. One is the lower interest rate environment, which will bring down finance costs for most of the companies. And then the second factor is the consumer demand or higher business activity, creating more revenue and that flowing into earnings.
Meanwhile, Executive Director and Research Head of Verity Research, Dr. Nishan Dimel, also highlighted the effect on Sri Lanka's economy along with the coming elections.
We are definitely now in a pre-election cycle, and for better or worse, we are going to be in a pre-election cycle for quite a bit of next year, at least the first half, okay, depending on when provincial elections come, which means that you can't expect too much fiscal discipline. And the IMF is going to begin sounding increasingly strict with Sri Lanka, but there is a chance that the program may have to, of course the program is ending with next year, so it's a great time because what can the IMF do at this point? So it's just like a president's term. In the US, you say the second term of his presidency, the president loses power or influence because he's not going to be elected again. When you come to this last stage of an IMF program, the IMF also loses leverage on the country because the only thing that the IMF can threaten is to suspend the program, and a program that's ending is hardly carries that kind of threat. So I think that's the cycle that we're in with the IMF.
Zipline, a USA-based company that delivers medicine via drones, will launch operations in Sri Lanka and many other countries in the region in 2020. The project was exposed at a recent media discussion held in Colombo, along with the participation of Zipline Global Business Development Head Yaniv Jelnik. This life-saving technology is expected to implement during times of crisis such as natural disasters or any other emergency situation when inventories are insufficient or unavailable. Thus, Zipline is at present having discussions with the Sri Lanka Ministry of Health, Civil Authority, Ministry of Defence and other related bodies. The plan is to execute 5 distribution centres in South, 2 in Central and 1 in North close to Jaffna to uplift the speed of delivery and service efficiency, since the usual delivery time of these drones is 15 to 20 minutes on average. Here, Zipline Global Business Development Lead Yaniv Jelnik explaining extensively on the health-related project.
Actually, the plan is to build 5 distribution centers around the country. 2 in the south, 2 in the middle, and then 1 up north closer to Jaffna. Each of these facilities has an 80-kilometer radius, and the drones travel very fast. So what we would do is we would maintain inventories at each of those 5 locations, and each facility would know which distribution center it's closest to. So yes, we would be able to deliver to any facility in the country within approximately an average of 15 to 20 minutes. I've been working here in January when I first came. People have this experience where they go to the hospital, they go to the clinic, and they're told, I'm sorry, we don't have that medicine right now. What they mean is that they don't have that medicine there, but it definitely exists somewhere in the country. It's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's exactly the problem that we solve. Next time you show up at a hospital and you need a medicine, you will not hear that we don't have it available. What you'll hear is, it is definitely available at the centralized stock at the drone distribution center. Let us order it right now, and it'll be here in about 15 minutes.
Stay tuned for stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 19.02 points to close at 5,708.92, and the S&P SL20 gained 22.8 points to close at 2,778.22. The turnover was 277 million rupees and over 13 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.